It's now my pleasure to invite Mr. Jeroen Lenaers to take the floor. As I said, he was the rapporteur of the European Parliament for the regulation establishing the European Labour Authority, and we had a fantastic and effective cooperation with him all along this process. Mr. Lenaers, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Commissioner Thijssen, dear Minister Richter, dear Director General Korte, dear members and observers of the Management Board. It's a great honor, but a much greater pleasure to be here with all of you today, because who would have expected this, that 18 months after Commissioner Thijssen presented the proposal on a European Labour Authority, we would be already sitting in this room to have the first meeting of the Management Board of that very new agency. So let me first pay tribute also to the excellent work of Commissioner Thijssen and the services of the European Commission throughout the whole process. Always ready with information to clarify complex issues for us, always offering creative ways forward when things seem blocked, and always pushing us forward in a decisive yet charming way that only Marianne Thijssen can do in that way. Now, next to the Commission, I would also very much like to thank the Romanian presidency for the honest, constructive and enjoyable negotiations we had together. First and most importantly, of course, permanent representative Mr. Cosmin Boiangiu, but definitely also the staff and advisors of the Romanian presidency. And last but certainly not least, my colleagues in the European Parliament, the advisors of the different groups, the assistants who all did a tremendous job in making this today into a reality. So 18 months for a proposal to a first meeting of the Management Board, that must be some sort of record. Now, I know it is still less cool than running a marathon within 2 hours, but for EU standards, it is very impressive nonetheless. And there is a famous quote from Molière where he says, "Unreasonable haste is the direct road to error." And I believe that while progressing swiftly, this has been something that's always been on our mind. Yes, we wanted to move forward. We wanted to move forward quickly, but for the European Labour Authority to have a real added value in practice, we need to have a strong foundation. And a strong foundation requires thorough consideration. And I believe we have achieved that, and that you, members and observers of the Management Board, can continue to building this authority on a rock-solid foundation. It was also very important for myself personally, but also for the European Parliament, and Commissioner Thijssen mentioned this, that for ELA to work well, it needs to have broad support, both in the Council and in the Parliament. I also remember when we started working on ELA, we just came out of the whole debate concerning the Posting of Workers Directive, which left scars. And the idea of the European Labour Authority, for it to work, it needs to have the support from left to right, from north to south, and from east to west. It's something we need to do together. And as Commissioner Thijssen mentioned, we got that support. Over 70% of the European Parliament, a great majority in the Council, and I'm very happy with that. Because by gathering broad support and creating a strong foundation has been our goal from the beginning. And of course, as a Parliament, we would have very much appreciated if the Council would have unanimously adopted our Parliament's position completely. They chose not to do so, so we had to have these negotiations, but also in the negotiations, we really managed to find compromises on substance together. Now, why is ELA so important for the Parliament? I think the video already very clearly showed this. 17 million people in the EU are living or working in a different member state than that of their nationality. And in the future, this number will only increase. Now, I come from the most beautiful border region in Europe, which is the Dutch province of Limburg. And it's very particular because it's a Dutch province, but it has more borders with Germany and Belgium than with the rest of the Netherlands. So I don't think there's anybody more strongly convinced that giving our citizens and companies the chance to pursue opportunities across borders is the greatest achievement in the history of the EU. And we need to preserve that achievement and make it sustainable for the future, and therefore it's crucial to strengthen the fairness of labour mobility so that workers and companies with good intentions can enjoy their rights to the fullest while those who abuse the system are penalized. And to do that, we need two things, and we're already referred. First, we need clear legislation, clear, simple, and enforceable rules. I think we did a lot of work on that in the past mandate, and work is still ongoing with, for instance, the regulation on coordination of social security. But rules alone are not worth the paper they print it on unless they are actually enforced in practice. And there, it was already said, we have not been performing at our fullest potential. And there, ELA will perform a crucial role, for instance, indeed, when it comes to joint and concerted inspections, facilitating, coordinating, and also making sure that there is a proactive cooperation between the member states. A simple no is not enough. As we said, we need to do this together. But it's not only about enforcement. We must always look at the perspective of the citizen. And in order to enjoy real mobility, citizens need to be sure and need to have the information to know that they are not losing any rights or entitlements simply by crossing a border. And this is where coordination of social security really plays an important role, because there is no such thing as a European social security. If you look at social security in Europe, it is more like a big street with 28 different houses. All these houses have been designed by different architects, some by Otto von Bismarck, others by William Beveridge, and maybe some other architects even. Some of the houses were built many years ago, while others are much more recent. Some are very elaborate in design, others are very sober. One particular house is even trying to leave the street altogether at the moment. Many of the houses have faced renovations, restorations, expansions, or downscaling in recent years. So the diversity in the EU's motto of united in diversity is nowhere more visible than in the area of social security. Nobody is even contemplating these days to have a process of harmonization of social security. There will be no ever closer social union. But precisely because of this, member states have an ethical obligation to make sure that their social systems are well coordinated. It is an ethical obligation towards our citizens to at least be coordinated in diversity and to be well coordinated. And ELA will have an important task as well to help the member states live up to that obligation. Not for the sake of coordination, not for the sake of member states or the sake of the European Parliament, but for the sake of our citizens. People like a man I met recently, Johan, who lives in Belgium, works in the Netherlands, lost his job at the age of 65, is not entitled for unemployment benefits in Belgium because he's too old, is not entitled to pension benefits in the Netherlands because he's too young, and after 40 years of contributing to social security in member states in the European Union, he is getting nothing from nowhere. And for citizens like Johan, we need to make Europe work better, and there is an important role to play for ELA. And of course, part of that is the revision of the regulation on social security. Tomorrow we will pick up the work in the Parliament. We will have our first meeting with the political groups to define the scope and the mandate for the renewed negotiations with the Council. And on Tuesday morning in Strasbourg, we have planned the first trilogue. So we are moving onwards with this, and the longer it takes for the new Commission to take office, the higher the chance that we still get this done under the mandate of Commissioner Thijssen, of course. Now, I won't go into the detail of all of the objectives and tasks of ELA because I'm pretty sure you all know the regulation by heart. I will warn, however, that we must not overpromise or underdeliver. And I sometimes got the feeling in recent times that even before it coming into existence, ELA has become a magical solution to all of our problems. If we have a problem implementing the posting directive, no worries, ELA is on its way, it will be solved. We can't agree on 883, ELA is coming. If we have difficult questions in national parliaments on cross-border social fraud, all relax, we can count on ELA. And I think it won't be that easy in practice. ELA will not be able to solve all problems, but I have a lot of confidence in the way that the agency is set up. In particular, this simple fact that all the liaison officers of the different member states will be under the same roof is a huge improvement. I remember when I was just elected 5 years ago, my first work visit was to Europol in The Hague, and I'm still impressed and inspired by the way 28 member states' police services are represented in one corridor. And this model, I'm convinced, will work very well also in the field of social affairs and social inspection, so that a Dutch labor inspector does not need to spend hours or weeks on the phone to find out who to speak to and where to get the information he needs. He can just simply cross the corridor, knock on the door of his colleague and ask for help. Again, here we need to do this together. And it will be your task, the task of the management board, to make that into a reality. And I believe also the setup of this board, as we see here today, will allow you to live up to that task. With a high level of knowledge, commitment and practical experience of the members of the management board nominated by the member states, with the inclusion of the social partners, which was very important for the European Parliament, and the inclusion of an independent expert nominated by the Parliament, and the nomination of Mr. Jan Kramer will soon be confirmed by the Parliament, and with the additional support provided by the enlarged stakeholders group, I believe we have found a good balance to reflect the operational hands-on approach that we need to make a success of ELA. And we can already see the success and popularity of ELA today. For the first 6 job openings, almost 2,500 applications were received. That is a huge amount of people that believe in the mission and the structure of ELA and are excited to contribute to the cause of fair mobility in the EU. And we should be very happy about this, because it will allow us to select the best of the best to come and work for ELA. And when we're speaking about the best, I must not forget to mention Mr. Jordi Corel, the interim executive director of ELA. I think on behalf of the Parliament, we can say that we're very happy that you are taking the leadership of the agency in this very crucial starting period. So thank you for that. Now, briefly, before I finish, Commissioner Thijssen already referred to the seat. Now, as you are surely aware, the European Parliament has launched an action against the decision of the representatives of the governments of the member states that makes the provision for the seat of ELA to be located in Bratislava. Now, I also want to underline here that this is absolutely not because the Parliament feels that Bratislava would not be a good location for ELA. In fact, I believe ELA is widely considered as a very, very good location for all the reasons that Commissioner Thijssen mentioned, for ELA to carry out its activities, and the location of Bratislava as such is not contested by the legal action, but the way in which the decision was taken for the Parliament in an interinstitutional way appears to adversely affect our prerogatives as co-legislator. And while we wish to uphold the prerogatives of the Parliament, it is for the utmost importance for the Parliament that the agency can be set up in its final location as quickly as possible in order to be fully operational and able to carry out its tasks as foreseen and desired by this Parliament. And we are looking forward to cooperate with the Commission and the Council to make sure that, without prejudice to the ongoing legal procedure, legal clarity is provided. And I would like to assure you of my personal commitment to make sure that ELA can get to work as soon as possible from its seat in Bratislava. To conclude, you can't have a speech on the European Labour Authority without referring to its name. Because, as we learned from Shakespeare in Romeo and Juliet, a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. But it was obvious that Shakespeare was not present during our negotiations on the European Labour Authority, because the name has been a point of debate throughout the whole process. And whether it should be an authority or an agency or something else altogether, I can't even remember all the ideas that were contemplated. But I am very happy, on behalf of the Parliament, that today we are seeing the first meeting of the Management Board of the European Labour Authority, a name that gives ELA the muscle it needs, that distinguishes it from the other agencies in the area of social affairs, and really emphasizes its operational nature. And in that way, it also does justice to the assessment that President Juncker made during his State of the Union in 2017, that it seems absurd to have a banking authority to police banking standards, but no common labour authority for our single market. And that absurdity, ladies and gentlemen, ends today. With the establishment of the European Labour Authority, we take a crucial step towards realizing a truly fair and social European internal market. a market where workers' rights are respected, where there is no place for social dumping, bogus self-employment, or unfair competition. A market where we're not only focused on the free movement of workers and services, but we work to ensure fair labour mobility in the whole of the EU. And in order to achieve this, we need better enforcement, we need clear rules, and this is exactly what the European Labour Authority will do, and it will start doing so from today. It is a landmark achievement, and it shows that the European Union can deliver on the concerns of citizens, and it can deliver fast. So once again, a big thanks to Commissioner Thyssen, the Romanian presidency, and all those involved during these negotiations. The commitment and constructive approach from everybody in this process has led to a strong and effective and operational new authority, which I am convinced will make a big difference. And we count on all of you, ladies and gentlemen of the Management Board and observers, to ensure ELA's success. And I thank you for your commitment, and I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Lenaers, for your speech and also for your clarification regarding the position of the Parliament in regard to the